Labeling theory, the belief that individuals subconsciously notice how others see or label them, and their reactions to those labels over time form the basis of their self-identity. Primary deviance, the first act of rule-breaking that may be given a label of deviant and thus influence how people think about and act toward you. Secondary deviance, subsequent acts of rule-breaking that occur after primary deviance and as a result of your new deviant label and people's expectations of you. Stigma, a negative social label that not only changes others' behavior toward a person but also alters that person's own self-concept and social identity. Broken windows theory of deviance, theory explaining how social cues impact whether individuals act deviantly, specifically, whether local, informal social norms allow deviant acts. Street crime, crime committed in public and often associated with violence, gangs, and poverty. White-collar crime, offense committed by a professional, or professionals against a corporation, agency, or other institution. Corporate crime, a particular type of white-collar crime committed by the officers, seers and other executives of a corporation. Deterrence theory, philosophy of criminal justice arising from the notion that crime results from a rational calculation of its costs and benefits. Recidivism, when an individual who has been involved with the criminal justice system reverts to criminal behavior. Total institution, an institution in which one is totally immersed and that controls all the basics of day-to-day life. No barriers exist between the usual spheres of daily life, and all activity occurs in the same place and under the same single authority. Panopticon, a circular building composed of an inner ring and an outer ring designed to serve as a prison in which the guards, housed in the inner ring, can observe the prisoners without the detainees knowing whether they are being watched. Stratification, the hierarchical organization of a society into groups with differing levels of power, social prestige, or status and economic resources. Social equality, a condition in which no differences in wealth, power, prestige, or status based on the natural conventions exist. Dialectic, a two-directional relationship, following a pattern in which an original statement or thesis is countered with an antithesis, leading to a conclusion that unites the strengths of the original position and the counter-arguments. Dialectic materialism, a notion of history that privileges conflict over economic, material resources as the central struggle and driver of change in society. Structural functionalism, a theory in which society's many parts, institutions, norms, traditions, and so on, mesh to produce a stable, working whole that evolves over time, best embodied by Talcott Parsons. Conflict theory, the idea that conflict between competing interests is the basic, animating force of social change and society in general. Equality of opportunity, the idea that everyone has an equal chance to achieve wealth, social prestige, and power because the rules of the game, so to speak, are the same for everyone. Bourgeois society, a society of commerce, modern capitalist society, for example, in which the maximization of profit is the primary business incentive. Equality of condition, the idea that everyone should have an equal starting point. Equality of outcome, the idea that each player must end up with the same amount regardless of the fairness of the game. Free rider problem, the notion that when more than one person is responsible for getting something done, the incentive is for each individual to shirk responsibility and hope others will pull the extra weight. Estate system, a politically based system of stratification characterized by limited social mobility. Caste system, a religion-based system of stratification characterized by no social mobility. Class system, an economically based hierarchical system characterized by cohesive oppositional groups and somewhat loose social mobility. Proletariat, the working class. Bourgeoisie, the capitalist class. Contradictory class locations, the idea that people can occupy locations in the class structure that fall between the two pure classes. Status hierarchy system, a system of stratification based on social prestige. Elite mass dichotomy system, a system of stratification that has a governing elite, a few leaders who broadly hold power in society. Meritocracy, a society where status and mobility are based on individual attributes, ability, and achievement. Socioeconomic status, an individual's position in a stratified social order. Income, money received by a person for work, from transfers, gifts, inheritances, or government assistance, or from returns on investments. Wealth, a family's or individual's net worth, that is, total assets minus total debts. Upper class, a term for the economic elite. Middle class, a term commonly used to describe those individuals with non-manual jobs that pay significantly more than the poverty line, though this is a highly debated and expansive category, particularly in the United States, where broad swaths of the population consider themselves middle class. Social mobility, the movement between different positions within a system of social stratification in any given society. Structural mobility, mobility that is inevitable from changes in the economy. Exchange mobility, mobility resulting from the swapping of jobs. Status attainment model, approach that ranks individuals by socioeconomic status, including income and educational attainment, and seeks to specify the attributes characteristic of people who end up in more desirable occupations. Medicalization, the process by which problems or issues not traditionally seen as medical come to be framed as such. Sick role, concept describing the social rights and obligations of a sick individual. Morbidity, illness in a general sense. Mortality, death. Epigenetics, chemical regulation of gene activity that may be switched on or off in response to environmental influence.